Another new anime series I'm getting into is Ossan Newbie Adventurer. It's in its first season right now.
That's the one with the 40-year-old adventure guy, Rick Gladiator, right?
Well, that's exactly a running joke in the show. He's in his early 30s, but compared to other adventurers, he's older. There's several characters who constantly mistaken his actual age and call him a 40-something-year-old guy, and this gets on his nerves.
I've seen the first 2 episodes, and you're saying the rest of the show is worth watching?
It's about 7 episodes in at the time of this recording, and yes, watch it. The show surprised me because it actually has a lot of heart. Around episode 4 is where I got into it. I think that's a flashback episode. You see, Rick starts off the show as a clerk at an adventurers guild, but he's got bigger dreams to become one of the elite members. In that flashback episode, we see how his parents discouraged him from pursuing that path, despite the fact that he had a marker showing he had a special ability.
A lot of people can relate to that, like having a dream and not being able to pursue it as we get older. It's definitely something true to life.
And that's why I think this show works. I was reminded of Kaiju number 8, which also has a main character that almost everyone underestimates and writes off because he's older and has seemed to lost out on pursuing his dream.
You're right. I wish there were more stories like that, which touched on universal themes. Honestly, I didn't get deeper into the show at first because the art style was my favorite, but you're starting to convince me to give it a second chance.
That's on theme with the show. In that episode 4 flashback, we also see how Rick meets one of his future trainers, Renette, and she is an elite S-rank adventurer. They end up going on a date and run into a dragon, which Renette is unable to defeat because of a traumatic childhood experience. So Rick confronts the dragon and surely thinks he's going to die, but his hidden skill and magic leads him to killing it. It's a crazy reversal and it captures the aspirational tone and heart I was talking about earlier.
Okay, so with that flashback, that's how Rick joins Renette and the group of trainers, right?
Yeah, she invites him in.
You talked about heart being important in story, but how would you define it? Just so our audience knows what you mean by it.
Good question. I think it can be kind of abstract, but a story that has heart shows an emotional truth that really resonates deeply with our human experience. There's a corresponding parallel between what we see on screen and what we know from our own lives, and there's additional insight that comes with it.
So, more than just the theme of a story.
I think so, for technical purposes so that we can distinguish the term theme separately. I also think when we see movies or shows that have a lot of heart, we just know that it awakens something true inside of us. There was a good example of this in a 1994 documentary about high school basketball players called Hoop Dreams. In the film, there are 2 players, William Gates and Arthur Agee, from Chicago schools who strive to get drafted into the NBA. So we see their struggles and their triumphs, and the film is all heart. It's raw, naked emotion on display, and we connect with it.
I gotta see this movie then. You know, I used to be a baller back in the day. Played a little street ball and made some money on the side.
Is this for real, or are you quoting from a film? Because this sounds like the plot of a basketball movie.
I played, I balled, I conquered.
Okay, here we go.